A video game crash is something that's been talked about a lot during this past few years. You got your old men yelling at the clouds about how good gaming used to be. That's me, by the way. Get off my lawn. Then you got my personal favorites, the anti-wokies talking about how games are not as masculine as they used to be, which I wholeheartedly disagree with. I mean, are you blind? Have you seen the women in video games? If you ask me, gaming is too masculine. But here's the real problem though. It's money. It's always been about the damn money. The price hike to $70, all the predatory microtransactions, battle passes, digital deluxe versions of games, hundreds of millions of dollars being dumped into high-profile flops, hundreds, sometimes thousands, of people losing their jobs, no longer being able to support their families. The next big video game crash conversation has always been a topic of concern, even in my own videos. But I always talked about it as a possibility, as something that could happen if things don't change. A speculation. But now when we look at the current situation we're in with Nintendo and Xbox deciding to raise the prices of their consoles and their games even further, even though the Xbox Series S and X are already old-ass consoles, the prices were already bad enough. And while at the same time, GTA 6 is being delayed. Which, let's be honest, Grand Theft Auto is overrated. It's the most normie gaming series ever. I wonder if we'll be able to steal cars in this new Grand Theft Auto game. Wow, look at the graphics. From the outside looking in, it seems like the industry is burning to the ground. But then you turn around and you look at games like Clair Obscur Expedition 33. You see games like Schedule 1 developed by a single person. It's clear, we can all see it. There's this huge disconnect with AAA and what customers actually value. But also, we're all fucked. Let's be serious though. We're seeing people finally vote with their wallets. We're seeing upcoming games like Mafia: The Old Country and Wu Chang: Fallen Feathers looking like every other high-production blockbuster game, and they're releasing for not $80, not $70, not even $60, $50. Compare that to the huge flops like Drag Queen Age and Ass Creed Shadows, games with big names attached to them just straight up being rejected. Compare that to Sony's big releases like Not a God of War game and Not a God of War game Ragnarok and Spider-Man 2, the Insomniac one, not the movie tie-in one that's infinitely better. No bias, by the way. Spider-Man 2 cost twice as much to make as the first one, but sold half as much. Same thing with God of War 2018 to God of War Ragnarok. Ragnarok costs more to make and sold way less than the first one. And you have the exclusivity deal with Final Fantasy. Rebirth hurt Square Enix so badly they had to drop out of their partnership with Sony over it. I'm still waiting for a Final Fantasy game, by the way. Oh wait, here's one, and it's only $50. The current state of the gaming industry went from games need to change to games now have to change. When people see high production value coming from studios like Sandfall without the high production budget, releasing with that $50 price tag, they start to ask questions. They start to feel almost lied to. They start to become disenchanted with the AAA. They start voting. Thank you, Mario, but Princess Peach is in another castle. That'll be $80. Guess what, Nintendo? My wallet's in another castle. And look, we're not just seeing this type of success happen with games like Expedition 33. We just seen it happen with Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. A smaller team, smaller budget, under $50 million from what I've heard, didn't release with a premium price tag, and it became a success immediately. And that's the key thing here. These games are successful on release. Sometimes they're making profit on day one, while games that cost hundreds of millions of dollars to develop can take years before they start seeing a profit. It couldn't be mismanagement, could it? People just can't see the value in games like this. They can't see the authenticity. People are rejecting these blockbuster titles because they lack that authenticity. Call it wishful thinking, but I think very soon, even the biggest names in the industry, the companies that we look at and think are too big to fail, they're going to be rejected all the same. Just look at big companies like Bethesda and Activision. Black Ops 6 launched with a pretty strong player base, but for a game that's supposed to hold player retention for an entire year until the next one drops, that huge ass decline is not looking so good. And Elder Scrolls 6, how many people are actually excited for this game? Or should I say, how many people are actually having faith that Bethesda won't screw this one up? Like Fallout 76? And their last big hit, 16 times the loading screens. I want you to go check out a game that's releasing very soon, like this month soon. It's called Tainted Grail: The Fall of Avalon. Go check that game out, and then tell me how excited you are for Elder Scrolls 6. Tainted Grail is releasing for $45, by the way. I remember reading a few articles on the psychology of pricing structures, and how people look at games that cost $60 versus a game that costs $70, and subconsciously they're thinking to themselves, well, that $60 game must have less value, less content and all that. And I thought that was absolute bullshit propaganda, because my experience has always been the exact opposite. Every time I've seen a $70 game, I've always laughed and said, yeah, I'm not buying that shit. Games are barely worth $60. 99.9% of all my purchases have been older games at a deep discount. And the one and only time I have ever bought a $70 game was with Tears of the Kingdom. And I cannot express the buyer's remorse I had after purchasing that bullshit. Not even a Zelda game, one of my most favorite franchises in gaming history, could convince me that $70 is worth it. I actually feel like on a subconscious level, that price tag soured my experience. Because I wanted a proper Zelda game with proper dungeons and item progression and all that. A true classic Zelda experience, but in an open world, like what I thought it was going to be. I feel like if I would have just gotten more Breath of the Wild for $60, I would have enjoyed it more. These companies are trying to gaslight us into thinking that $80 is going to come with this new standard of quality. But in reality, we're going to have the same amount of microtransactions, the same amount of season passes, and all that other bullshit that's been plaguing these games. And nothing is going to change. Actually, I think it's going to get a lot worse. I think we're going to start seeing advertisements during loading screens. That's how bad I think things are going to get. Back in the day, you could sell graphics, okay? But that's not the deciding factor anymore. I mean, come on, these companies are still trying to sell us on how good these games look? Are you kidding me? Games have been looking good. Graphics peaked like 10, 15 years ago. Yeah, back then you could sell a game simply by making it look good, but it's such a formality now. They're just a given. Honestly, nowadays I see all these trailers with the hyper-realistic graphics and I start dreading how much space this game is going to take up and how long it's going to take to download it. All the shader compilation and micro stutters. If anything, I get more excited for a game that looks like shit but looks fun. At least my PC won't melt through my desk and I can have more than 3 games installed at a time. This isn't the PS1 to PS2. This isn't the PS2 to PS3 or the Nintendo 64 to GameCube. We're not seeing huge graphical leaps anymore like we've seen with the Xbox 360. Graphics, really, they don't matter anymore. We see game trailers without any gameplay and guess what? We just completely ignore them now. Same thing with marketing. These huge marketing campaigns that cost millions of dollars, it doesn't matter anymore. Not when you can just hand your game off to a streamer or just give out free keys to smaller YouTubers. You can literally release a game with zero marketing. We've seen it before with Balatro, we've seen it with Schedule 1. Zero marketing, and they can become top sellers on the Steam charts. We've gotten so much slop from the AAA. We're now catching on to it, which is kind of funny. We should have caught on to it like 8 years ago. If you want us to show you the money, you show us the game. We want raw, unedited gameplay, or else we're just gonna ignore it. You make us a good game, and we make you some good money. I mean, it's as simple as that. Come on, guys. Word of mouth is still the best form of marketing. No one cares about gaming outlets anymore. I don't trust game journals. Not when they want skippable boss fights and when they think that game over screens need to be nicer to the player. Like, what the fuck? I'm a normal ass dude. I want to play normal ass games on normal ass difficulty. I'll be honest, look, Elden Ring, it filtered the shit out of me. I was so burnt out after I beat Sekiro, I couldn't do it. But I never complained and asked From Software to make an easy mode. Like, what kind of bullshit is that? Like, you should know what you're getting into. And it's frustrating. Again, authenticity. I'm starting to lean almost exclusively to AA and indie because I don't want to play games that feel like they've been passed through an HR filter. I'm not out here watching IGN give game number 1 million a 7 out of 10. I'm watching streamers. I'm looking at Steam reviews. I'm watching reviews from people I'm personally subscribed to and enjoy their content, and I just want to see what they think about the game. That's how I do it. That's how a lot of us are doing it. If Nintendo, Xbox, and Sony want to do that variable pricing shit, okay, cool. That's awesome. I'll be over here doing my variable purchasing. Games were already being looked at with way more scrutiny when they were raised to $70. They pushed a lot of us, including me, to PC. Why would I pay $80 when a studio like Sandfall is out here like, hey, I heard you like Final Fantasy. Guess what? Ours is better. Best gaming experience of your fucking life. $50. Yep. Yeah, $50. It's yours. Wu Chang Fallen Feathers, Mafia the Old Country, $50. You know what? Expedition 33 is already outpacing the Oblivion remaster. Schedule 1, it sold 5 million copies. One-man dev, by the way. Split Fiction, 2 million copies. Are we experiencing a crash? Really, I don't think so. Actually, no. No, we're not. We're not experiencing a crash. We are experiencing a shift.
The Oracle told me that the game of the year 2025 was going to be made by a studio who found the formula to make it up here on stage. It's stupidly simple, but somehow it keeps on getting lost. Studio made their game because they wanted to make a game that they wanted to play themselves. They created it because it hadn't been created before. They didn't make it to increase market share. They didn't make it to serve as a brand. They didn't have to meet arbitrary sales targets or fear being laid off if they didn't meet those targets. And furthermore, the people in charge forbade them from cramming the game with anything whose only purpose was to increase revenue and didn't serve the game design. They didn't treat their developers like numbers on a spreadsheet. They didn't treat their players as users to exploit. And they didn't make decisions they knew were short-sighted in function of a bonus or politics. They knew that if you put the game and the team first, the revenue will follow. They were driven by idealism and wanted players to have fun. And they realized that if the developers didn't have fun, nobody was going to have any fun. They understood the value of respect, that if they treated their developers and players well, those same developers and players would forgive them when things didn't go as planned. But above all, they cared about their game because they loved games. It's really that simple.